Hello, 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 everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello, Miss Kemi. How are you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. This is our weekly show, the Ty Elnathan Show, sharing your stories with Ty Elnathan. And I'm super excited to be here tonight. Might I say Happy International Women's Day or Happy Women's Day?
It's Women's Day. It's not like, it's worldwide. So, yeah, I like that.
Happy Women's Day. There's no other time to be, there's no other good time, I think, to be a woman. I'm actually excited. Just in the last little bit, women have accomplished a lot. Women have been on the forefront of so many developments. The glass ceiling is being cracked, maybe not shattered, but it is being cracked. We have a woman vice president in the United States, doing great things. We have good people like Oprah, Meghan Markle. Wait, sorry, um, the Duchess of Sussex. I think that's the title.
Duchess of Sussex. Yes.
Yes. Or you know what? Michelle Obama, my personal
Yes.
favorite, my mom, your mom, all wonderful women doing great things. So you know what? I say happy Women's Day to all women out there who are doing things daily, cooking, cleaning, washing, going to work, coming back home. You all deserve a pat on the back. So welcome to our show this evening. The Taya Elnathan Show, sharing your stories. Please feel free to send us your comments, contact us, Facebook, like us. We're on all the social media handles. Um, please support us. So tonight we have a great show for you guys. Title of our show is "What Next?" International Women's Day. What next? So Kemi, what next? First of all, I guess to our viewers, tell me what is the International Women's Day?
So it's a day to celebrate women's accomplishments, to recognize how far we've come in the world, and to also call out the fact that there's a lot of work to be done. Tackling issues like gender parity and things like
Hmm.
that. What is a big issue? I know that when I was, yesterday was a lot of statistics out there, and two that I found very interesting was for every dollar a man makes, a woman makes about 75 cents of that. And also, women tend to retire 30% poorer than men. I don't, yeah, like that's odd, right?
No, it's not too odd because of the children family factor. A woman, I think, and I'm not saying men don't, but I find that most women have more, what is the word, baggage
And it's not
over
just
the
the
years.
baggage factor and all of that,
It's
but when
not
we look at it,
negative, just
exactly. When we think about investing, look at the way men invest and women invest. We are more, women tend to be more careful. You don't see, it's just now recently you see more women in the stock markets trying to get
mhm,
in there and
mhm.
work about capital markets and stuff. Whereas the men, once they start earning money, they're thinking about all of these things. And it's just odd. And the being a woman is great. I love being a woman, but the cost of being a woman versus the cost of being a man in some situations can be a lot less. And when we talk about the 75 cents to a dollar,
Mhm.
so for every dollar a man makes, I have an example. I don't know if I told you this, but I was at a job and they were hiring two analysts in that department. So me and a gentleman, same experiences. I was internal, it was external. And this was something that HR sort of worked on. And when they were going to give us our offer letters, they're actually going to pay more than they're going to pay me.
Well,
And it
maybe market though. Like I find that you can negotiate market, and they give you.
absolutely no, but that was how it started. So it started out as he was going to get more than I was going to get.
Mhm,
Luckily for me, the person handling the person that was the hiring manager at the
mhm.
factory saw put our offer letters and thought, wait, this girl has more experience than this guy, and she's been in Toronto for so long. Why do you think it makes sense to pay her less than the man? So she ended up working for a pay bump for me. So I didn't even have to deal with any of that crap. But now imagine a situation like that where it was HR is two departments I know that is mostly female. HR and nursing, typically. Those are
Traditional.
traditionally those are like female oriented career paths.
Mhm,
Like when you like if you go into an HR department, for every five female you see one man. So
mhm.
when you see something like that, and it's the women that decided this to say, okay, let's pay this woman less than the man, And I know back in the day it made sense because the men were traditionally breadwinners. They were the ones, carrying their families and stuff. But as time has changed and the world has changed, there's that we're working at the same par. We have more single women or primary breadwinners that are
Mm,
females.
yeah,
I
the
think that the
world is
world should be
coming.
shifting in that direction,
Mhm.
but we don't see a lot of that. So when you talk about what next is, I get it, everyone's saying like choose to challenge and everyone put your hands up and determine what you want to do. But what are we as women doing? What are
Well,
we doing from March 9th until March 7th of next year?
hmm. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's a deep one. I hear you there. I hear you. And it's funny you should bring up that story. When we talk about sharing your stories, we're not looking necessarily for the big wow stories. Even the little stories, matter. Because I get you what you're saying there about, you're at a job or workplace and there's a guy, there's a girl. Both of you are equally talented, more same qualifications, you probably have more experience. But then they choose the guy, they go with the guy. Why? Maybe because, he can work harder or he has more time. He doesn't have any family constraint. I find that when I've worked in offices, right, I can't compete sometimes with the guys because they're in the office till midnight sometimes, and I have to go home. I have a family. I have to go home, right? And so that impacts what raises bonuses, pay raises. It impacts even the way you expand. A lot of guys my age mate are managers, that are senior managers, and I'm just now knocking on doors of some certain doors because I couldn't have because, or women who go for maternity mat leave breaks and they come back and the woman manager is saying, well, we gave your position away. Um, do another job for us or go find another place to work. And this happens day in, day out. And these stories that I'm saying, even though I'm saying them as one liners, there are real stories of people who have gone, like the lady who I know went on mat leave, came back, position was gone. They gave her another position in the company. It wasn't what she was used to. She didn't like it. It was really hard for her to relent the rule, especially coming off for mat leave. And they told her, well, that's what happens when you leave. Woman manager to woman to woman employee.
But that's my concern. This is my
And so
problem. Like with the men, there's more understanding there. Like I see that when
I
you
don't know
have,
why the man would ever have to leave, like
yeah,
for mat leave, So now they're doing parental leave, but for the most part, a man would not have to face um, that conversation. And what do? You need the money you're back of mat leave. You go, sure, put me wherever you want to put me. I need to make the money. And so it's the story. It's real. Day in, day out, these things happen, to women out there. And some of it is perpetuated by women on women crimes in quote. I'm not in quote. And this happens, and so it's like the burden of silence, as a woman.
hmm,
What goes on under your watch? What do you let happen?
hmm.
That's one of the biggest issues that I'm finding with women that I see the burden of silence. You keep quiet, you look the other way, you act like it's none of your business. It's and you know what? To all the organizations out there are lots of relief organizations and support organizations out there who are helping out, you know, um, providing relief from violence, financial literacy, mental health support, babysitting. Canada is actually very good, a socialist country where they provide all those accesses to all those things. Sports for girls, the woman child, celebrating that. I'm really grateful for that. Honestly, I am. That there's this support out there. So, there's a lot of work that has been done on the foundational, organizational level, lots of money going towards support. What I don't know is the individual. If me as a woman, you as a woman, if we're doing enough in our own circles, in our own communities, in our own spaces for the other woman. What do you
Hmm.
think?
I totally agree with you. And then that begs the question of what is enough? Like, how can we help? And what are some of the things that we can do? I mean, I've felt this in many places where, you know, you need help, you need guidance. Sometimes you don't even need to spell it out for people to see us. And that takes me back to back in the day with the older generation where, everybody has that street auntie, that older auntie that they can go to, or that older lady. I mean, with our grandmothers, we saw it where everybody in the neighborhood came to their houses and just sat there and got wisdom from them and got help from them. As we're growing up and the world is changing, I don't think that communal support or that street neighborhood aunt exists anymore. And I don't know how people are dealing with that. What do you think?
I agree. I hear you there. Oh my God, growing up, and I don't know if that's an ethnic thing or if it's something that also happens here, in North America. But I remember growing up, there was always an older aunt. There was always a teacher in school that you just kind of felt close to, that you're like, can I just talk to you about how I feel? I remember my school principal. She was very nice to me. I would never forget that. You'd be surprised. You know,
Mm,
she was very nice to me. Not, I don't know that everybody liked her, but she took enough interest in me to support me at a time when I needed her the most, and she was always, and I would never forget the impact she had in my life, and different answers, even before I can, talk about my mom, but, different answers, different cousins, older sisters, who are there. And I remember that advice they gave me, that support. And then suddenly I've grown older, and I don't know that I can't, I don't know if it's rude to say that, but I don't know if there's any older person that is out there, that in my community, that I can go and say, hey, mommy, tell me, or talk to me about this, or it's really bad. I don't know. It's like we Google everything these days.
absolutely, and no one wants to give advice. So you mentioned the ethnic thing. I know that we had it in the African context, but
Yeah,
if you remember Madea, she was
yeah,
everybody's grandma, everybody's aunt. People
but
would go
yeah,
to
yeah,
her. Yeah, like all those series where they weren't her family members. They were people that knew
hmm,
her, maybe on the street, on the
yeah.
corner, but she was always there to help them, and she always
Yeah,
had
the
those
matriarch.
and she always had like messages at the end of it to be like, okay, this is my moral lesson to you. So we'd
Yeah,
watch the shows, we'll laugh, but there was always an undertone of a moral lesson. And that was
always.
like in the US, I
So,
want to say like the Black
but yeah,
American
the black, the
context.
African, yeah. But
Hmm.
you know what? No, so here, this is it. This is the question I have. So, and I don't. So now, if you had a Madia, would you listen to the Madia? Because you see, this day and age now, and I don't blame when people don't want to talk or give advice anymore, because I see that the young children of this day, there's I don't know, there's something about the way they see things and how they respond, and
We
it will
want
give
to
you
learn by experience.
say again.
We want to learn by our own experiences.
Well, so what I'm saying is, before you can be there for somebody, there's a certain level of, like I mentioned, my own school principal who stood for me, stood by me, stood with me at a point in time in my life. I listened to her though. I was never disrespectful. I was never rude. I didn't call her out. I didn't act. But it comes to this society, this generation, where I'm holding an iPhone 4 or iPhone 2, and my those 10-year-old child is holding an iPhone 1 or iPhone 2, and we're like, well, I have, or a 17-year-old child is making money, and they'll tell you, please shut up. What are you saying? And then so, I mean, how do you even bring that into the concept of what we're talking about women helping women, and going forward from now to next year, what are we doing for each other? Because it is who that makes themselves available, because basically what we're talking about is mentorship in a way, you know and I don't know. I'm, I'm listening. I don't know that women, like, I get that, and I want that. The concept of my dear. I sometimes, the concept of my dear, the concept of the lady who is there. The advice of the sage, kind of, sort of. You know, but are we ready for that again? Do we?
I mean, I can only talk from my professional life and
Mm,
what I've seen.
mm-hmm,
So I find I have a lot more male mentors than female mentors. And it's not a choice thing. It's not about diversity in the workforce or whatever. Because I find out with the men, when you see someone that you really like the character, whether you're in life, you like what you see on paper, and you're like, you
mm-hmm,
know what, I want you to guide me in my career, or I want you to, help me
mm-hmm.
with things. They reach out. Like my mentors are always reaching out to me every 6 months at least. Oh, what's going on? How are you doing here? What's going on there? And they're
Okay,
always so welcoming
let
of
me
that.
ask you a question. You
Hmm.
actually have mentors.
Hmm.
you submitted to mentorship. You have
Oh, I
people,
have loads of mentors. Oh
you have
yes,
loads of mentors.
loads of mentors. Yes,
Well,
loads.
loads of mentors, people really, and you have that mentor mentee relationship where they're mentoring you, you listen to them, they're growing your career, they have an interest in you, in your life, in your growth, in your success.
Oh yes.
Any of
I
them are
mean, just so no, not really, not really. So I'll get to the women part. So when I've seen some really powerful women that have been like, you know what, I want you in my corner, and usually you have a coffee, you talk about what you're doing, talk about what you're doing. You always find a way to be like, oh, you're working, you're a career woman, you have kids, can you usually have it all? You get all that feedback, and you're like, okay, great. Oh, that was
so
loud. It's all good.
that's
Like you're like, okay, I want you to mentor me and stuff like that.
mm,
And most times they're like, oh, why me? There's that humility, or I don't know if it's humility or rejection of I'm not ready to take on someone to help them through their lives. Whereas with the men, even if they don't, even if when we're colleagues or they just maybe one or two levels higher, they're like, yes, let me teach you everything I know. Let me find out how you're doing. Let me give you advice. And the advice is always around, and I find out with my mentor session, is always, what is the problem? What are you really trying to deal with? And let's tackle that problem. Let's not
are
tackle it
those
as the
your
person.
male, sorry, are those from your male mentors or the female mentors?
My female mentors are almost non-existent. I mean, I have older friends who I can talk to about things and we kind of dilly dally and stuff, but the men are usually my warriors, like, let's get in there. So last year I had a situation at work and I wasn't sure what to do, so I called all of them one by one and said, this is my problem, and they'll give me the answer. They're like, this is what I think, these are the factors to consider. And it was consistent feedback from each and every one of them. No one said you must do this, you must do that, but they gave me their own perspective. They gave me their own, if I were you, I would do this, but these are the things that you should think about when you make your decision. And they followed up to say, what did you end up doing?
Hmm. Mm.
And that I like. And it wasn't like they were forcing me to do something. The corollary of that, when I've gotten advice from women, has always been, oh, this is how it should be done. This is what you should do. This is how you must do it. And if you don't do it, they're like, oh, why don't you do it this way and do it that way? Or you missed a step in the five things that you used to do, or that's really bad.
Could it be the way men and women are wired as opposed to, it being a function of, well, I guess so, it's a function of gender though, but could it be the way, because when I think of, say, let's use the most obvious example, parents. My mom
Mm.
would yell, da da da, do this, do that, do this, can you, and then my dad would just say, hey, can you, and then it's done. And could it just be that, that there's a way man approaches something, to like a man, so because you talked about the men are your warriors and they help you tackle things. Could it be that maybe a man is more problem oriented, how do you say, problem solving oriented than maybe a woman? Or could it be that am I being too simplistic about it? I don't know. But
I,
I'm more
I
impressed that you have loads of mentors and that you submitted to mentorship, because I find that in this day and age, not a lot of people even, I don't even know that people know what that word means anymore. Mentorship.
people take it in different ways. I find people confuse
No, I just
mentorship
want
and
definition.
sponsorship.
Say again.
So people confuse mentorship and sponsorship.
Mentorship and sponsorship.
So those are two
Mm,
very different things, and people sometimes expect their mentors to sponsor them and vice versa. And sometimes, because in some situations I've seen, never happened to me so far, thank goodness. But when you place so much trust and faith in someone to mentor you, that you take advantage of that naivety that you come with,
vulnerable.
right? The vulnerability, and they try to take advantage of that. And I've seen, we hear about this in life around, someone
Mhm,
that supposed to give you advice, give you support, sort of
mhm,
help you, guide
mhm.
you through your path, and they're leading you to the wrong direction for their own personal gain.
Yeah, they
So
use,
there's that as well.
that happens a lot, and I guess maybe that's why people are scared or are shied away from the whole idea of mentorship, because the boundaries are not were never put in. You know. Oh, I hear that a lot too. There are lots of stories about I went in to see him. He was my mentor, and then I came out pregnant. But
You know what I like? I've never, like, my mentors are fantastic. They're, usually it's, even if we go out for like drinks or supper or whatever, it's always very professional. even those that I consider friends, because many of them I pick them up along the way. You know, you're working, you meet someone like, oh, I like your style, I like where you are in life. How do you get here, and how can I grow to be someone
Mhm.
like you, and kind of thing. And of course, you know, there's that familiarity going on. Of course, I
Mhm.
know about their family and all of that, but I've never felt uncomfortable around my mentors. I've never
Okay.
felt that my mentors are taking advantage of me. And that's like I said, many of them, I think they tackle the
No
issue at
problem.
hand. They solve it. We talk, we laugh, we joke, and everyone goes in a different direction. No one has
Mhm.
ever said to me, "Oh, you know, come and meet me in this hotel after dark." Nothing like that has ever happened. It's
No,
always been
no,
like, you know
well,
what I mean?
yeah,
So I've been
that's
lucky in that
it.
sense, I
Uh,
guess.
but okay, so back to I guess the main thing of so what next after International Women's Day? Women,
Hmm.
what are we doing for ourselves individually, as a group, as a community, to help each other? Because you see, the organizations are there and they'll keep pumping money into this issue. But until we as women decide to start helping one another, each other, pulling each other up, I find that I've worked in an office before where um, they were like was one of those open concept situations, and so there were like 4 or 5 women in an open concept area, and the 3 women will talk about their boyfriends, and then the other 2 women will talk about their own personal issues, which honestly was fine. And then, but I was the one who had, I think, the bigger workload, and so I didn't have
Mm,
enough time to always chit chat with them, which honestly I wouldn't have minded because you know what, hey. But then I found out that they didn't like. I don't know. I don't think they hated me, but I just didn't fit into the mold. I didn't fit into
mm,
the size 6, size what is this, size 8 mold. I was I am tall, not as slim or skinny. I don't know that I can be the Coke bottle model. I'm not Beyonce in that regard. I believe I am beautiful in my own way, but you
you are
know,
gorgeous.
I'm in my own way, but I don't fit the regular mold, and so I've worked on a bunch of severally on conversations where they are laughing at me, or they don't understand why my hair is in braids, or they don't understand, and it's catty, just women cattiness, and that always throws me. Well, so this is the thing. All my life, somebody has always said something about my weight, so honestly, it didn't hurt my feelings because I've yeah, it's what it is really. But the whole idea that we're women and we're all working for the man and we're all here, and there was such a cattiness, such a competitiveness, and I see that even in society where we all want the women want to dress. This woman wants to compete with that woman, want to dress better than the next, or we don't want to share information because you don't want this person to know, this or that. And I always wonder, is there a reason why we do that to ourselves? And it ties right back into this mentorship situation where um when a woman I've seen women who mentor other women, but their concept of mentorship is here, carry my bag, listen and watch me, and when I'm ready to tell you how to be, then maybe it's an African thing, I don't know. But the way I see the way they mentor, I don't know that I can submit under that kind of, because to them mentorship is almost the person that
Servitude.
servitude, and then when you're properly servitude, when you're properly down, and then they're like, yeah, you know what, now let me lift you up, and I don't
But
know. You see what I'm saying? And so that keeps women away from wanting to be mentored, and that keeps women away from, because I don't know that my personality would take somebody lording it over me in the line of in the guise of
mentorship.
mentorship, or pulling me up or helping me, because at the end of the day, what will help each woman is mentorship. Look, we all need to help each other out. Pulling each other requires mentorship. If I'm going to help you out, I'm going to need to help you. And yeah, and so yeah. Sorry, I cut you.
So yeah, no, no, it's fine. So you touched a couple of things I want to talk about. So I think first off, when we talk about, you know, people who don't know how to mentor, maybe that was how they were mentored and they thought that's the right way to do things. It's almost that concept of, I guess we never went through that, when you get into school and you're junior and all your seniors are like punishing you. You're the lowest of the bottom in JS1. So you
Mm-hmm,
have your JSS2s, and this is one of those Nigerian things in school where,
mm-hmm.
you know, your seniors are always, you're always going to be the bottom of the pile. So you say to yourself that I can't wait to be in JS2 so I can have
Right.
juniors to deal with.
Yeah, and then
And
it's the same exact thing. Hurt people kind of deal.
exactly. So you move up in that level. So that's one way to look at it. But then also, some people don't even have the experience. They don't understand what that's like, right? For them, it's like when someone says, "I want to learn from you," they think of it as, "Oh, you want to be better than me, so I'm going to take my time." Is that whole concept of what do you call
You
it
want
now? When you try to learn a trade, and they're teaching you slowly, like if you like the hairdressers when you go to the salons, right? The bottom of the pile are the ones that are either like they're putting attachments aside, they're braiding, they're washing. That is
mm,
the job, and they're growing from there. So some
mm,
people look at mentorship as stewardship, where you
mm,
have to earn that way to the top. But it's
mm.
because no one taught them any differently, and they don't know any differently, and
And
that's one way to look at it, right?
they don't want you to be greater than them. That's a big thing, because there's a point in time where the student will surpass the teacher.
Exactly, and that's like I think
You
our parents' pride and joy is when we're doing better than them,
Yeah,
and
that's only for your parents.
I think no, even as a mentor,
Not
I'm
for
always happy
everybody.
when it's almost like I have a bunch of mentees, and my mentor always pushing them like, "What is going on? Where are you?" Like when we talk, it's like, "Okay, what's next for you? What's next for you?" The way that I was being pushed to sort of do better is like, why you not doing better? Like, what is the issue? How can we
Mhm,
deal with that issue and help you get to the next level? And
mhm,
the reason is simple. When you get like I found myself going tracing my steps back and trying to help more young people now because I got to a point where I was the only one at the table.
mm.
And you're like,
Being the
what?
only woman out of
Yeah,
it.
not just being the only woman, being the only woman, being one of the youngest black people at certain tables where you're like, I remember one time where doing a negotiation and I
Mm,
forced myself into that meeting. And for the 5 days of being there, it was on the fifth day I realized I was the only female with a bunch of like, almost 10 people that were there day in, day out. And it was like, what happened? Like, are you telling me there are no female lawyers? There are no female like other enterprise people that could come in on this deal? There are no female architects, but they are. I've worked with them. So when you get to that level, you're like, where's everybody?
Well, could it be a lack of confidence? There are times when I'm very confident as a person, but there are times when I have to present with a group of guys in front of me, and I'm like, the nerves just kick in. And usually I'm pretty, confident. But then when you have a bunch of guys, you're showing them things, and you know they're going to scrutinize you. Suddenly, I forget everything. Nothing makes sense anymore. What I knew 5 seconds ago, I start to, and to be nice if there's a woman in there that can smile and say, you know what, you got this. But more often than not, you find that it's just you, presenting at such a level, and that the women are there quiet, protecting their own turfs. Nobody's there enough to hold your hand up, and it's rough. It is. It is honestly. I hear you there.
It is rough, but then
I
the
hear
thing
you there.
is, I remember there was this lady I worked with. I really loved her. She's been like she's amazing. And I learned something from her that she practices every discussion before she goes in front of the board. And I was shocked. I'm like, you make it sound like it's natural. She's like, no, she brought out her cards that she writes notes on, like key things she wants to talk about. And she has them all lined up. She talks about of a mirror. You see her grabbing coffee, talking to herself. And that was what she does. That's what she does to prepare herself. And I learned that from her. So now when I have to do a presentation, I write out what I want to say, like my key points. I practice what I'm trying to say, and then I go in front of people. But if I'd never met her, I wouldn't have known this. And that's something you pick up. And you're right, like many times, and in tech, I see that a lot where women at the table are either trying to, be like, prove your worth to me. Don't be a stupid woman at the table because I earned my place here, so you can't
Yeah,
be foolish.
yeah.
And I've seen situations where and it happens to me at work a lot of times where I would say something and someone would say the exact, or when I say they're like, oh, it's not like that. And someone else would say the exact same thing. I'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that works for me. And I've seen my friends go through the same thing too. I have this friend, she sounds like a child, smartest woman on the block that I know. Sounds like a child if you've never met her. Like if you talk to her, she sounds like an actual child. She's in her 40s. And we would go into meetings sometimes and she would make valid points and
But
she
don't
would
we
discount
listen to
it.
her?
No one would listen. No one would listen.
Mhm.
And it started to take the men to speak up for her. And I thought to myself one day that why are the women not speaking up for her?
It's called the burden of silence. So that concept, why women are speaking up for each other, it's called the burden of silence. They just look away.
What is the burden of silence, though?
The burden of silence is, I guess, when you kind of keep quiet, you see things happen that you can change, that you should change or speak up about, and then you keep quiet and look the other way, and you let it happen on your watch. I mean, not bad atrocities. So I'm not talking of rape or murder, but the little tiny what is it? Little tiny indiscretions. Somebody says something, somebody makes a bad joke, and you laugh at it, so that you're not the one, the odd one out. Or somebody acts rude, and you just kind of look away, and you don't say anything, you don't call it out because you're like, well, I'm just gonna protect my own turf here. Or you go, you know what? Yeah, and that's what the burden of silence is, and we all do it. Honestly, we all do it, and I'm not proud of it, but I know that there are times when you're like, you know what? I'm not even interested in this fight, and you just kind of walk away. And and when I think about it, I guess when I say what next, I might choose to challenge. That's the thing for the International Women's Day. I think it's about time that every woman takes look. I'm not asking. What I'm saying is I'm not trying to make a point of let's change the world today. I don't know that I believe it can be changed today, but I believe that every one of us can make a choice to say, listen, um, nothing evil will be perpetrated on my watch, or I will mentor a woman, or I would provide knowledge as best as I can to another woman out there. I guess for me, when we ask the question, so from now to next year, what are we doing? One of the things I want to see done that I'm going to do as a woman to woman is to help every woman that I can that comes across my way. Big help, small help, financially, physically, say a nice word, say a kind word. I will not be the one that perpetuates, I suppose to say, evil. I will not be the one though that will hinder another woman. I know, as small as that is, I think it's important that we know and we remember to do that. Because our workplaces, you find that they say women are difficult to work with. All that. Oh, let's not talk about our personal life at work. But then day in day out, women come to work with horrible personal stories, and they say, "Oh no, 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 leave personal at personal, leave work at work." And then, you find that as a woman who's in the office next to you, who has probably going through abuse at home, who is sad or who is depressed, who is suicidal, who has mental health issues, but because you're at work, you don't want to seem like you are talking. And this happens on burden of silence. Maybe a kind word you say to that lady will be the one that will change their life and the life of our children, the life of the generation. You don't know that, right? Um, oh my God, this is the Taya Elnathan show. Sharing your stories with Taya Elnathan. For those of us who are listening or joining in, I thank you all for joining in. I'm here with my friend Kemi, and we're talking about women. What next after the celebration of the International Women's Day? How can we in our lives, in our circles, um, make an impact on the next woman? What are you doing? What is your plan for the next woman you meet? Um, yeah. Um,
You talked about that burden of silence, and I think that, whilst we're trying to choose to challenge, we should choose to challenge that too. When we
mm,
see inequality, we should call it out. When we see oppression, we should call it
shout
out.
it out.
And it doesn't take a lot, I find, to say, you know what, you discount that person's feedback because, you did not agree, or is it because she's female? And just something as simple as that, something as simple as repeating what someone else said. It's
Yeah,
something as simple as saying, you know what, she makes a valid point. Can you
sharing things.
discuss? Just sticking up for a person,
Yeah,
understanding that when someone comes in a room sometimes and they're very, like I've been in rooms with people where they're trying to present and you can see on their faces that they are
definitely.
panic stricken, they're
Mhm,
nervous as hell.
mhm.
And rather than, have that really strong face, you smile at them and
Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
you make them feel welcome. Like I've been in interviews with women where, or even people, I mean, over time myself in interviews, when I have to get people in,
Mm-hmm,
I don't meet them in an office in a square box. I
mm-hmm.
like to meet them at coffee and, just
Make
have
you
like
more relaxed.
real,
Yeah.
make them relax because that's when you get the best out of people. When they come in, I've seen people come in and they're just blabbing and you're like, okay, calm down. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an interview. Tell me about you. Let's talk about you
I,
first.
and I like that. I like that comment of calming them down. I like what I do. Is I like to hear people's stories. I say, tell me about yourself. I want to know you because you see what has happened is women are now numbers. We've turned individuals into numbers on the balance sheet. It's 5 FTE, 3 FTE. and is no longer a human being that draws a paycheck.
Exactly.
Even outside the workplace, we don't see each other anymore like we ought to. We just kind of go by our business on our mind. And I wonder if, you've taken that time out to smile at somebody on the grocery aisle, said a kind word to another woman, hey, or seen a woman who is, I know when my children were smaller, we'll go to the mall and sometimes they would cry. And it would be the women who are looking at me weird.
Exactly. I got to tell you a fun story that I something that I did. So when my niece was born, I realized that babies cry. It's something that happens, and I started feeling. I used to be compassionate. Okay, not really. I used to be like, oh, I hope I don't have a crying baby next to me. But as after my niece came around, I was like, you know what? It's okay. So one time I was traveling. This poor woman had two kids under three. I think the young one was maybe 6 months. The older one was like maybe 18 months or so. And when you're traveling with kids, you can't just pack a bag. You have like three to
Every
two bags, every bag. And our
Mhm.
son would not stop crying. And everyone would pass by, other women would look at her like, do something about that crying baby sort of
Yeah,
thing.
it's too loud. Yeah.
Exactly. So, the woman was searching, the boy beside her was crying. So I after some time I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, how can I help? So, I gave him some snacks. I helped him turn on his TV. It was good. Then the baby wouldn't stop crying and she's just fidgeting and looking everywhere. So I'm like, dude, what's the problem? Turns out that the bags that she had that contained all their passports and everything, she left it on the tarmac. We
So,
hadn't taken off we at the gate because she was, she had this
yeah,
two
yeah,
kid.
it's
So I'm like, okay, crap, give me your kid and go and go
get
look
it.
for your stuff. So she handed the baby to me and this boy's crying. And everybody that came past just gave me that look of,
Shut
why is that? Like, shut the baby up. Like, I can't shut the baby up. Like, I don't even know his name. So I'm
Yeah,
just there, just like, rocking him, doing all kinds of things. So it kind of calmed down until his mom came back. But most of the looks I got were from women.
I hear
Like,
you. It's a woman that will criticize another woman's child. Like it's a woman that
yes.
will criticize another woman's, instead of helping. It's, have you seen that woman? Look at her children. They are not well behaved. You know,
They're crying.
woman, like look at that woman. It's women that do that. I don't know that I've seen a man never complain about another woman's child or another woman's, it's a woman that's look at her, she's so fat. It's a woman. I don't know that I've seen a man do that. I'm not saying men don't think it. I'm just saying that I don't know that a woman has. Or my favorite is when a woman will say, "I'm just being honest with you." I'm just being honest. Yeah, I know you're being.
No one asked you. Like, no one
Yeah,
really. In
you know.
all the things that we said today, no one asked you for your opinion. But thank you, though.
But women do that, and that hurts more than they think or they know. And so I'm just saying my mind. I can say my mind. Yeah, yeah, no, no. You can be nice. You can
There are
be
better
good.
ways of saying it. Yeah, and
You
then when we
can
talk
be.
about that, we talk about mom guilt as well, and how it's
Mhm,
more women were giving themselves that burden of, oh, I
mhm.
need to spend more time with my kids and all of that.
And then it's a thing. Oh my god, our time. I don't want to go over our time today.
Oh,
Um, I know this conversation can, we can, I guess for the takeaway today is this for me. Every week I like to leave people with something to think about and a takeaway. And this is it. So there's nothing that is happening right now that has not happened before. We all live in cycles. If you don't know that, know this, that life is cyclical. There's nothing that was that is not now and that will not come back again. There's nothing new under the sun. You know this. And because you know this, some of us, a lot of us, maybe in the diaspora, um, we've maybe lost contact with our roots. And so I challenge you. I choose to challenge, or which hand? My, I choose to challenge is call your parents, your mom,
mm,
maybe your dad.
mm,
Those of us who might not have our moms. I'm sorry. I really do feel bad. Call your dad. Call somebody and ask them questions of your past.
mm,
Ask them the why questions. Ask them the why questions. Um, why is this happening? Why did this happen to us in our family? Because until you know the why, you wouldn't know why you are going through what it is that you're going through. And it's a bit of a shift. But to help another woman, you have to be whole yourself. There's also the theory of self care. Self care is the best thing that you could do for the next person because when you're whole, the next person around you is whole. Broke people break people, hurt people. So the challenge is call your mom, call your dad, call your aunts, call your Medea, Call that person and say, hey, I want to know the story of my past, of our
Mhm.
family past. What happened in 1920? Why did that person pass away? If you don't know, because there's some of us who don't know, you know, because you've probably never thought about it. But I want you to do that. If I can ask you to do that, you know, call your parents, find them. Because you see, they're growing older and you need to document this. If possible, write it out, you know, impact the next generation. Because even if you don't need that information, your children will need that information. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You may know, you've probably lived, you've probably seen some things, but I don't know that if my children ever went back, if they ever come across some things that are happening, if they'll know the answer. The difference between the black and the white race is we stayed on oral tradition, oral communication, mouth to mouth, pass me down information, and every other race built libraries and they built information systems, and then they progress faster because why? It was all documented. We need to start building our own family documentation systems. We need to do that as a people, as a person, as women. You need to write documents. So this is a challenge. I choose to challenge you. I challenge myself. Find the information, document it. What happened in my past? Mom, tell me, why did this happen? Why did it happen? I'm curious to know. Are you not curious to know?
Oh, I'm very curious. I was laughing because my cousins already started that whole documentation process. So they were a few years ago. They were after my grandmother passed. They said, okay, let us understand where we came from. Let us understand our
Mhm.
stories. Because after my parents' generation passes, I don't think we'd have any of that. Because really,
It's
we
done.
weren't really part of that. But people like my mom, my dad, like my aunts, my uncles, they know a lot of that history. So my cousins started to do a call. They started to do a family tree. I'm going to reach out to them. I wrote that down to say, what's up with that, what's going on. Maybe set up some sort of sessions, like a story time where we can document all of these artifacts and we can keep it for our children's
Yeah.
children.
It's
Because it's not
important.
about our generation. It's about the future. I remember a friend was telling me, I know we're out of time, but one of my friends, very straight up guy said, you know what? We're only good for two generations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand. It's like, think about this. You're born, you have your children.
Mm-hmm.
If you're blessed, you will see your grandchildren. If
But
you're really blessed, you may see your great grandchildren, but will they know you before you pass?
no, you'll be just
And
old and mm,
exactly. So it's just so stale. And by the time your great grandkids are born, you're
they won't
just a
know you.
picture. You're just a picture on the jewelry if you leave any to them. That's all you are. No one really, cares that, what, my great grandmother Kemi did this, did that, and she left us this, and because of her, this happened and that happened. And there's so many phenomenal stories that we've lost in the fact that the generations have passed down and no one continued those lines, right?
Oh my
So I
God.
really like that idea of getting
I,
getting to know your
that's
past.
that's the challenge, maybe.
Mm.
Oh wow, we should. I'm trying to see how to follow up on it. Maybe in the next 3 months, because I want
Oh,
to do that too. Like we should be able to follow up on people and say, hey, have you done it? Have you documented something? Some people may not even like to write, but I know there are services out there that if you want them to
doc-
document with you,
absolutely. And you can even
you know,
take recordings
and
and
do recording,
translate them.
yeah,
So it's not so bad. There's
yeah,
so
for
many
your
options out
children
there.
and yeah. Oh my God, I don't want to go past that time today, and I think we're getting closer to the time.
Where, yes.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who's listened, who's watched our show. I am grateful, grateful, grateful that you have done so. Kemi, thank you so much. You are always very insightful, very, very insightful. So thank you for that also. Once again, this is the Tayo Elnathan Show on the LCC Media Foundation platform, sharing your stories. We have this whole year is going to be packed full. We're going to start a series soon on seniors. Understanding as the seniors and also documenting the stories of our seniors, impacting the next generation. So watch out for that, guys. Once again, thank you all for coming. And this is it. This is the show. If you have comments, concerns, thoughts, let us know.
Feedback.
ladiescanada.ca. And Kemi, final word on you.
Yes, before we go, I want to talk about if there are any resources we have that we can share around women and how we can support
Mm,
each other. We can
Mm,
put that somewhere, maybe on the website
the
or
website?
on the page.
Okay, I will load. I'll put something for about resources. Thank you for saying that. I had that in mind. Resources for women, so that we wouldn't have just talked only, but create a way where women can learn more. Mental health, weight gain, loss, health, and all that stuff. We'll do that. Thank you for bringing that up once again, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Smile.